In many Western fiction, be it films or novels, there must be conflict, antagonist, and a resolution, just like in these action movies. But it's important to ask ourselves a question. Why does the protagonist must win or lose someone or something? How realistic is that? It's too predictable. Sometimes in life there's win-win or lose a situation. And there are alternatives to writing stories without conflict. And one of them is Keisho Tenketsu, which I'm going to introduce today. Everyone, if you're new here, I'm Aude, a writer and filmmaker. I've written novels, short films, and short stories over the years in French and English. What if a story isn't a battle, but a realization, or even better, two words colliding? This is what we're going to explore today with Keisho Tenketsu. Keisho Tenketsu is a 4-act narrative structure from East Asia that builds tension without conflict. And I came across that structure in film school, and it looked like a great way for me to fit my stories into a structure where there is room for complexity while conveying my message effectively. I was tired of manufacturing and creating fake conflict in order to write stories that would sell. And I think that the most realistic and beautiful stories are about different worlds. Keisho Tenketsu has been popularized in the film Kiki's Delivery Service, and it is made of 4 acts. Ki is the introduction, Sho is the development, Ten is a twist, Ketsu is a conclusion. Keisho Tenketsu. So the first act is the introduction. The introduction sets up the basics of a story. There's a character. We see their setting. We see who they are in this life, what kind of person they are. And then we have the second act, which is a development. We explore more of what make your characters someone that is worth telling a story about. We explore their relationships, their aspiration, their regrets, what their life is about. We see them in their natural or unnatural element, depending on the story. And it's a great way to build on the basics that were explored in the introduction. Then we have a third act, which is 10, the twist or the complication. It is the core of a plot, and this is the most important part of the plot. Think of it as a new world, a new element, a new person is being introduced in your character's world, and they have to adapt. Keyword, adapt. This is not necessarily a conflict. In Kiki's Delivery Service, she has to learn how to live in a village where she has lost her magic. And 10 really shows how adaptable or not your character is, or they have to go along with that new word being introduced. Ketsu is a conclusion or reconciliation between the old world that the character was living in and the new world that is being introduced in the 10 part. It's a conclusion from the contrast between the first 2 acts and the disconnected third. And both of these worlds are reconciled into a coherent whole by the end of Ketsu. If you're a writer that has been trained or has gained inspiration from stories in the West or from the West, there's always that worry that if there's no conflict, nothing is happening, your story is boring, you won't be able to sell, you won't be able to get an audience from it. But in Keisho Tenketsu, the tension comes from the worlds colliding. And I'm going to explore to you the difference between the traditional hero's journey and Kisho Tenketsu. So let's explore the traditional hero's journey. So let's look at a story I'm building from scratch. A baker wants to become the best baker in the world. That's Act 1. We introduced you him as a character, but one day his dad dies. That's the conflict in the hero's journey. After that, we move to Act 2. Act 2 is when the baker decides to hunt down the person that killed their dad and get their revenge. And they find out that the best way to get their revenge is by baking a poisoned cake. During the Act 2, there is basically a point of no return where all hope is lost because they're caught while baking the poisoned cake. So Act 3 is the resolution. So after the baker is caught by the authorities and thrown in jail, or they are successful in baking that cake and the person that killed their dad dies, or they have a deus ex machina and decide to not go through with killing that man and just deal with grief by themselves without having to get their revenge. Now let's explore how such story will be told using Kisho Tenketsu. So, the key is the introduction to the baker, why they love to bake, how much they love food, their lives, their friends, what their daily life is about. Development is exploring their daily life in a more complex way, exploring their relationship with others and the world, and even their relationship with their dad. And then the dad dies, and we can still be in, the development. But the thing that happens is that the twist is when one day they meet their dad's killer, and they have a choice. These are two worlds colliding, so they can either move forward with their life and forgiving the killer, or, they can try to get their revenge. But the thing is, with Kisho Tenketsu is that the story is not gonna follow them seeking revenge. The story is gonna follow them being introduced to a world where they have to live with their father's killer, and how they will adapt, and how these two worlds are gonna collide into one. So in the Tetsu, they are introduced to the dad's killer. They can make a choice. And then the conclusion is how they live in a world with their dad's killer. They can forgive the person. They can get their revenge. They can decide to move through grief in an open way or in a very hidden way. They can deal with the guilt. Point of the matter is that them, meaning their dad's killer, is not a conflict. They're gonna just learn to deal with being in a world where both of them exist. So now it is your turn. If you want to try Kisho Tenketsu, I want you to try a prompt. I want you to write about a character's normal and eventful day. Make it as uneventful as possible, but try to find the beauty in that ordinary life. Then I want you to introduce an event that changes a lot of things for them. It can be something as simple as one day they walk on the street and they found a $10 bills, or something more that have high stakes. And I want you to find the connection, to find how their world is going to collide with another world. And I want you to draw onto it and show how both of these worlds are going to coexist in a way that makes it complex and also, if you can, beautiful. So that's my prompt for you. Are you going to use the Kisho Tenketsu method? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Like the video and subscribe to my channel for more writing and filmmaking related videos. If you want to support my small business and my work, look at my website as well as my books available in most online stores. Thanks.